In Venezuela, beyond the regional and municipal elections held last November 21st, the National Electoral Council will hold new elections for governor in Barinas state on January 9, 2022, after having not declared a winner. Barbados gear up to leave the colonial legacy of the British monarchy behind and become the world's youngest republic. On Monday night, Governor General Sandra Mason replaced Queen Elizabeth II as head of state of the Caribbean island. In a message to mark International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, the United Nations Secretary-General warned that persistent violations of the rights of Palestinians risk eroding the prospect of a two-state solution. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin. In Venezuela, beyond the regional and municipal elections held last November 21st, the National Electoral Council could not declare a winner after the vote counting in Barinas state. The Supreme Court of Justice ordered the National Electoral Council to hold new elections for governor in Barinas on January 9, 2022, guaranteeing equal conditions in the participation of people with the right to vote in the state. The governor's candidates leading the elections in the state were Argenis Chavez from the officialism and Freddy Superlano from the opposition. And now we move on to Honduras, where general elections were held on Sunday. With over 51% of the votes counted, presidential candidate for the Liberty and Ra Foundation Party, Xiomara Castro, is set to become the country's first woman president. Turnout in Sunday's elections was just over 68%. According to the current count, Xiomara Castro, the wife of former ousted President Manuel Zelaya, has secured over 53% of the vote, compared to conservative candidate of the ruling National Party, Nasser Yasfura, with almost 34%. The country's electoral council and the observers have urged candidates to avoid declaring victory until all the votes are counted.
Never again. Women and men from Honduras. We will never abuse again from the. We will never use abusement from the government again. From this moment on, the people of Honduras will be the main hero in Honduras. We are going for a straight democracy. We are going to have a democracy with participation of the people.
Yesterday was conclusive. It's what had to happen. Now Juan Orlando can't say anything. Papi a la Orden can't say anything either. It was decisive, because the people went out to vote, because we're tired of so much crime, of all that. The mobile hospitals, that were all lies. Hopefully there will be a change and it won't be a mistake. That's what I would like, for a better future for our children. We see it as a victory, because the people were tired of this corrupt government. The people said no, and we are happy because we have matured. There haven't been any disputes between us Hondurans, and thank God and the people who opened our eyes. We were able to vote for President Xiomara Castro de Zelaya.
Several leaders and the heads of state from Latin America have congratulated Honduran presidential candidate Xiomara Castro on her victory. Secretary General of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, People's Trade Treaty, Sasha Laurenti, stated that Sunday's general elections were an overwhelming victory for the Honduran people, who regained hope at the polls 12 years after the coup against former President Manuel Zelaya. In Honduras, the mission of international observers for Sunday's elections began its departure from the country, while highlighted the normality of the electoral process. This Monday, tens of international observers began their withdrawal from the Honduran territory after their participation in Sunday's elections. The independent observer of Spain, José Miguel de la Morena, indicated that his mission was able to observe the normality in the electoral process. Likewise, he expressed his satisfaction for the electoral process of Honduran people. It is expected that an official report by observers will be issued in the next days, in which it will start the incidents and the electoral recommendations from Honduras. Now we move on to other topics. The 7.5 magnitude earthquake that shook the remote Amazon region of northern Peru and was felt as far as Lima in the center of the country destroyed 75 homes, while no casualties were reported. The Seismological Center of the Geophysical Institute of Peru said that the earthquake had a depth of 131 kilometers and that the epicenter was 98 kilometers from the town of Santa Maria de Nieva in the province of Condorcaqui. The National Institute of Civil Defense stated that 220 homes were affected, 81 of which are now inhabitable and 75 completely destroyed. And fierce winds tore away roofs and trees, killing at least 4 people and injuring another 19 in the Turkish city of Istanbul. A powerful storm pounded Istanbul and other parts of Turkey on Monday, causing serious damage in the city. 3 people were reported to be in a serious condition. The winds blew away 33 roofs, brought down almost 200 trees, knocked down 52 traffic lights and road signs, and damaged 12 cars, according to the Istanbul municipality. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. Barbados geared up to leave the colonial legacy of the British monarchy behind and to become the world's youngest republic. On Monday night, Governor-General Sandra Mason replaced Queen Elizabeth II as the head of state of the Caribbean island. Ceremonies planned for Monday night included military parades and celebrations to mark Mason's inauguration as Barbados' first president, which had the presence of Prince Charles, heir to the British throne, as a spectator. The dawn of a new era and the fueled debate among the island of 285,000 people over centuries of British rule, including more than 200 years of slavery until 1834, and Barbados' independence in 1966, when it was recognized as a nation governed under the rule of a constitutional monarchy. In October this year, Barbados elected Mason to become its first president, a year after Prime Minister Mia Mottley declared that the country will totally abandon its colonial past.
I, Sandra Prunella Mason, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Barbados according to law, so help me God. I, Sandra Prunella Mason, do swear that I will well and truly serve Barbados in the office of President, so help me God.
Also, Prince Charles of Wales congratulated Barbados.
Madam President, Prime Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I was so deeply touched that you should have invited me to return to Barbados and to join you on behalf of the Queen at this moment of such significance for your remarkable nation. The creation of this republic offers a new beginning, but it also marks a point on a continuum a milestone on the long road you have not only traveled, but which you have built. From the darkest days of our past and the appalling atrocity of slavery, which forever stains our history, the people of this island forged their path with extraordinary fortitude. Emancipation, self-government, and independence were your waypoints. Freedom, justice, and self-determination have been your guides.
Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, stressed the importance of the National Hero Day and named Robin Rihanna Fenty as the national hero.
It is with distinct honor tonight that I announce that pursuant to Chapter 399 of the laws of Barbados, the Order of National Heroes Act, that my government will and has taken the decision to recognize that among us there are persons to whom the eligibility criteria as set out in Section 8 of that Act and the schedule is entirely applicable. We ask the people of Barbados to nominate persons, and many nominations came, and we will do the remaining ones by the National Heroes Day of 2022. And having satisfied that Ambassador Robin Rihanna Fenty has given service to Barbados which has been exemplified by visionary and pioneering leadership, extraordinary achievement, and the attainment of the highest excellence that has redounded to the honor of Barbados, my government has the distinct honor of recommending to the President, who has kindly and graciously accepted, that Ambassador Robin Rihanna Fenty tomorrow morning shall have conferred upon her the Order of National Hero of Barbados.
We remain on topic. Sandra Mason addressed the nation as Barbados President on the eve of the 55th Independence Day.
Join you this day in celebration of our nation, our people, and the future that we now chart. On a rain-soaked night 55 years ago, the inhabitants of what had been the world's first slave society shed the mantle of colonialism to become an independent nation. Vessel-independent Barbados weighed anchor and cast off from our colonial moorings. Unable to see the future, we embarked on the journey of nationhood with no clear knowledge of our strength and capabilities or our potential as a people. Some were understandably fearful of how our inexperienced crews and passengers would navigate storm-tossed international waters. A sense of uncertainty surrounded the viability of our social experience and our economic well-being. Others voiced grave reservations about where our small bark would end up. But even in the face of the uncertainties and the unknown, we set aside our doubts and fears, and with hope in our bosoms, we committed to the journey, embracing the vision of a proud, strong, hard-working people, and we sailed forward.
Now we continue to other topics. Protests continue in Guadeloupe, rejecting the France's Minister for Overseas Territories, Sébastien Lecornu, to talk with union leaders on the French Caribbean island to end with the violent demonstrations against COVID-19 restrictions. The visit came after more than a week of violent demonstrations sparked by COVID-19 restrictions, as well as residents complain over greater poverty, higher cost for basic goods, and poorer public services than on the mainland. Ahead of the visit, Minister for Overseas Territories floated the possibility of giving Guadeloupe more autonomy. Protesters said they cannot negotiate the space of 2 hours, even if it is only on the priority and important points, and 1 day of negotiations will not be enough after the delicate situation the Caribbean island is going through.
Also want an emergency plan for training leading to qualifications and permanent employment for young people. Remember that more than 60% of our youth are currently unemployment. We also request an emergency plan to improve the working and living conditions of Guadeloupean families. So we submitted our list of demands again, along with the methods we had already submitted. We have always said that these mobilizations is being called by some 30 organizations. It is out of the question that the negotiations be split up and that only a part of these members be included. So we remind them again, if there really is an intention on the part of the state to negotiate, it is under these conditions.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. In a message to mark International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, the United Nations Secretary General warns that persistent violations of the rights of Palestinians, along with the expansion of Israeli settlements, risk eroding the prospect of a two-state solution. Antonio Guterres reiterated that the overall goal of the two states, with borders based on the 1967 lines and Jerusalem as the capital of both states, remains. The Secretary General called on the parties to avoid measures that will undermine the chances for peace and urged them to engage constructively to end the blockade of the Gaza Strip and improve the living conditions of all Palestinians who continue to live under occupation. The message came ahead of a special meeting in New York on Monday to discuss the unresolved question of Palestine and the Palestinian people's inalienable rights. Palestinian rights, as defined by the General Assembly Committee in 1975, had yet to be attained. These are namely the right to self-determination, national independence and sovereignty, and the right to return to their homes and property from which they have been displaced. Talks on reviving the Iran nuclear deal resumed in Vienna on Monday after a 5-month deadlock. Representatives of the Iranian government and those of Western powers aim to reach an agreement on the reinstatement of the 2015 nuclear deal, which provided for the lifting of economic sanctions on Iran in return for limits of its nuclear development program. Former United States President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from the deal in 2018 and reimposed sanctions on Tehran, leading the country to resume uranium enrichment to a high level. Iran has insisted there will be no return to the deal unless all sanctions are lifted and Western powers meet their obligations according to the pact. Roadblocks were set up by demonstrators across Lebanon after the currency plummeted to a historic low. Protesters across Beirut, Tripoli, Saida, and other cities closed highways and intersections on Monday morning with their vehicles and set tires and dumpsters on fire. They call on the government to control the plunging Lebanese pound, which for the past week has hovered at about 25,000 to $1. The pound has lost about 90% of its value in a little over 2 years of crisis.
We took the decision to protest because people can no longer bear this difficult situation. When the US dollar value reaches 25,000 Lebanese pounds, while there are people who can no longer afford food or milk for their children, nor the diabetes and blood pressure medication for their parents, what do you expect them to do? This is the beginning of a movement. It is a first warning. This protest today expresses the pain and the livelihood of the people. Don't mess with us and push us to do what was done in 1970s, when out of hunger, people attacked stores and exchange offices.
Addressing the meeting of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, Chinese President Xi Jinping pledged to offer Africa 1 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses as the continent struggles to acquire enough jabs to immunize against the disease.
To contribute to the achievement of the objective set by the African Union of vaccinating 60% of the African population against COVID-19 by 2022, I am announcing here that China will provide Africa with 1 billion doses of additional vaccines, including 600 million in the form of a donation and 400 million in other forms, such as joint production between Chinese companies and the African countries involved. In addition, China will carry out 10 health projects for African countries and send 1,500 medical professionals and public health experts to Africa.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.